Yo, what's good, meatheads? Hope you're having an amazing day and welcome to another episode of the Meathead on the Mic podcast. It's your boy, IFBB PRO, Matt Butale, and today I'm going to be getting real fucking vulnerable with you guys. I'm going to be telling you something that you probably don't know about. I mean, unless you follow me, you wouldn't know about it unless you do follow me, I'll be honest. But it's quite a touchy subject. It's something that I've never talked about since the time that it happened. I mean, only a select few people in my life knew up until the point that I posted it, I think 2 days ago or 3 days ago. But I'm going to tell you guys about the time that the best thing and the worst thing ever in my life happened at the same time. And just to give you a little bit of like a not a reality check, you don't need a reality check, but more of like a realistic sort of insight as to what goes down on social media behind the phone when the phones are off and when people are just living their lives. Because I'm going to tell you this now, it's not all sweet. It's not what you think it is. All right. It's not as perfect as you view it. Okay. So that's what today's episode is going to be focused on. We'll be breaking down the reality of social media and how comparison steals your joy by me sort of being a little bit more vulnerable and expressing some of the things that I went through in my journey when it really looked perfect. So we're going to be breaking that down and we're going to be talking about it. Okay. So if you've been following me on social media for however long you've been following me, it's no secret that I turned pro at 23. All right, and I bet a lot of you guys that are super young out there are looking at this, or even the guys that are super old are on Instagram and they look at things going on in other people's lives and they're like, "Fuck, I wish I had as much money as this guy," or "I wish I had as many cars as this guy," or "I wish I had as much muscle," or whatever it is. Like you look on Instagram, you look on social media, and you automatically have this assumption of like what their life might be like. And it's not your fault because everybody only posts the perfect shit. Like we only post the good parts. We only talk about the good things. So everyone gets this thing called it's sort of like a fear of missing out. And I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to shine some light on it today because I've done it. I'm guilty of it because I'm always on social media. And just going to give you a little bit more of a vulnerable sort of take on what really goes down. Okay. Like I bet you probably felt like shit when you saw me at 23 years old turn pro naturally and develop like a wicked crazy physique. I bet you probably thought my life was perfect, like you think everybody's life is on this app. And I bet you probably wanted to change or trade places with me, at least my physique, right? Because who doesn't want to look really good? Like, who doesn't really want to have a great physique, right? But the truth is, it wasn't as sweet as you think. Okay. 3 months before I stepped on stage, I got into a fucking car accident, right? And while I hate to admit it, again, this podcast and social media, this whole platform that I've been blessed with, is also about me being 100% transparent and allowing you guys to sort of see what goes on behind closed doors. Okay. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. It was my fault. Okay. I'm not going to get into details, but I was being very irresponsible. I did something really fucking stupid that, of course, I regret. And luckily, nobody else was hurt, including myself. I wasn't hurt. Nobody else was hurt. But it's something that I did that I was very fucking embarrassed about. Okay. And I ended up getting arrested literally 3 months before I got my pro card. I was 23 years old. And then a few weeks later, I got the news that one of my friends died. At home, I had serious issues with the family. I hated the way that it looked and felt. I was extremely angry at the world. And I'll be honest, I was probably like some of you guys listening to this, I was going to the clubs and wasting my money to validate myself or to feel good for like as long as I could, right? Just blowing money, being irresponsible. And I'd often try to find my happiness at the end of a bottle. I drink a lot. It looked like I was, having fun, crushing my prep and all that stuff, but I was drinking a lot. And during that time period, I was extremely isolated and I ignored all of my pain because I had one thing on my mind. Okay. And those of you that don't already know what it is, I'm going to tell you because you already know what it is, right? Especially if you've been following me for all this time. All I had on my mind was winning. Nothing stopped me from doing my cardio. Nothing stopped me from leaving it all at the gym, right? All my pain, all my depression, all my anxiety, all my misery. I left it all at the gym. Nothing stopped me from measuring literally every single last fucking gram of my protein, of my carbs, of my fats. Bodybuilding was the only constant in my life at that time. Everything else sucked. I'll be honest with you. Everything else sort of like sucked. You know what I mean? Most things outside of bodybuilding at that point in time when I was 23 sucked, right? But I was only posting about the bodybuilding journey, 6 weeks out, 5 weeks out, 4 weeks out, whatever it was, right? Bodybuilding was the only thing in my life that I saw was truly, or I felt was truly valuable because I was putting in something and getting something out of it, right? I poured my blood and what remained of my soul into bodybuilding. And I cared about it more than I cared about living, to be honest. I cared about it more than I cared about, being in love or being happy or enjoying myself. And that's what it took for me to win. It was a disgusting amount of consistency and work. Like, I'm not joking. It made OCD look like child's play. And to a degree, I was a robot with like zero real emotions. Again, I was really fucking isolated. And I just remember feeling this at the time. My heart was like as cold as copper, and my mind was solid as steel. I had one thing in there and one thing only, and that's what I woke up for and what I went to bed for. And everything else in my life, I just drank it away or validated myself or did some other vice, use some vice to sort of, water it down and like not think about it. Okay. And, all you guys saw was this perfect version of me on the timeline. Again, the truth was, I didn't really care if I died at the time. Like, I just knew that I loved bodybuilding. I knew that I wanted to go to the gym. I knew that I got everything out of, posing and doing my cardio. I just felt alive, or at least the most alive, when I was doing things related to bodybuilding. And I didn't really care if I died. Like, so many of you think that, especially when you open up Instagram or like TikTok or Facebook, whatever social media app you use, YouTube, right? So many of you think that you want to trade places with everyone on this app. But the reality is you don't know the fucking half of what they're dealing with. Like, a lot of these people have at least portray a really, really cool lifestyle or a really nice body or whatever it is, but inside they're fucked up in their head or in their heart, or they've got other problems that you can't see. Maybe they lost their loved ones. You don't know what's going on. So I want you to be grateful for your life and what you have. I literally want you to start practicing gratitude. I want you to stop going online and like comparing yourself to other people and saying like, oh fuck, I wish I had it like them. I wish this, I wish that, based off of something you don't even fucking know about. Like, you don't even know what's going on. And you're just assuming that their life is perfect because they have something you might want and they're only showing you the highlight reel. Okay? Be grateful. Like, my intention in this episode is to show you, or at least to remind you, to be grateful for everything in your life that you do have. Okay? And never let anything stop you from achieving your goals when you're focused. Like, I know it sounds weird, but I'm going to have to bring it up. Like, even during the worst part of my life, I guess, like when I was mentally drowning out all of the pain with like alcohol and stuff like that, when I had my goal, which was, to earn my pro card and win nationals again, I didn't let anything get in the way of that. Like, I was depressed, I was anxious, I was feeling anger and like loneliness and all these negative feelings. But even with all of that, I was still able to remain focused. And I know everyone's different, but I'm using this also as an example to like let you know that just because you're going through it isn't a legit enough excuse for you not to fucking chase what you want. I have to remind you that, because if you don't know that, if you don't think like that, then any small thing that comes in your life, like any, you know, pebble in the road, we'll say, will stop you from doing what you need to do in order to get where you need to get. Right. And I need you to understand that's not true. You don't have to fucking lean into your pain all the time. You can still do things that are going to bring you closer to a goal, even if shit's going on in your life. Like, me personally, I remain focused, even though I was going through a negative time. I know not everybody has the proclivity to do that, but I want to inspire you to sort of think like that and do it to the best of your abilities. Nothing stopped me. Not the death of friends and family, not sickness, not heartbreak, nothing. Okay. And I want to remind you guys, unless you're dying or dead, you should be on track to accomplishing your goals. Like, nothing else matters. It doesn't mean ignore what you're going through. Definitely take the time to break it down and figure everything out. And if mentally you're too clouded and you can't give all of it, into your dream or your journey or your goal, like if you can only put in 50%, then do that. But just don't quit. And again, I'm not telling you to neglect yourself. I'm not telling you to ignore what the fuck's going on in your head and in your heart and in your life outside of the goal that you're achieving or trying to achieve. But I want you to, again, not use it as an excuse. At the very least, do something and not use it as an excuse. Okay, like, I know a lot of you guys listening to this are probably like, well, fuck, I would go to the gym, but I don't have the time, or I'm feeling a little bit sick today, or my tire is flat and then I'm going to be late if I go to the gym, or whatever excuse it is. Like, life does get in the way. But I want you to understand that the more you keep leaning towards, oh, something's fucked up, so I can't, the worse your life gets. Like, if it's already bad, it's going to get worse. So at least control one thing that you want, or try your best to control one thing that you want, and lean towards it as much as possible, so that you can at least leave with something. And again, I'm not saying neglect yourself. I'm not saying ignore your pain. Especially as men, we're usually taught to ignore our pain. But no, I want you to focus on what you're doing still, but still cater to what you need to in terms of fixing the problems that in your head and in your heart and in your life outside of your goal. It doesn't mean go all or nothing like I did. I pretty much put in 90% into bodybuilding and 10% into everything else, and it did have a negative impact on me, which is why I'm sharing this with you. And only after I got my pro card, maybe a month later, everything just started to settle in, and it just started to it hit me like a ton of bricks. And then I had to do the work. Okay. Again, unless you're dying or dead, you should be on track to accomplishing your goal, but do not make it so that it's at the expense of everything else that's hurting you. Still do it, but don't let those excuses, I don't even want to call them excuses because they're legitimately things that you should be paying attention to, but you shouldn't let those things, stop you completely from getting to where you need to go. Straight up. Like, nothing else matters. Do not compare your life to anyone else's. You have no idea what they're going through. All right. I hope this episode opened your eyes to the reality that fear of missing out, or FOMO, is just a fucking mind game. And yes, I achieved something impressive turning pro at 23. That's a fact, right? And I'm not going to discount myself on that. I did it during a hard time, but that shouldn't rob you of your joy. Like, think of this the next time you see someone doing something amazing on your timeline. I want you to think of this. All right. Shit ain't always sweet. Do not let comparison rob you of your progress in your life. You have no fucking idea what the other person is battling or what they just went through. But one thing is sure, one thing is always going to be for sure, guaranteed. Hard work does work. And as long as you're working hard to focus on what you need to focus on, the priority, the number one thing that gives you joy, if it's not joy, then success, you'll be fine. But again, do not ignore everything else. Make time for it later on. All right? Keep it real and love your life. That's it. That's all. I hope you liked this episode. If you enjoyed it, share it out with a friend. If you know someone else that needs to hear this message, tell a friend. And guys, that's all I wanted to say today. That's all I wanted to share with you. I just really wanted you to understand that life is not picture perfect like it seems on Instagram. And I know most of you guys already know this, but I wanted to give you my perspective. I wanted to tell you personally, a time in my life where it looked perfect on Instagram, but realities, like the reality behind that was something else. It was very different, and that's it. I hope you got something from this. My intention is to make you a little bit more grateful for your own life and stop fucking comparing your shit to others. What you have is wicked. What you have is awesome. Your life is your life, and you should be grateful for it. Let's embrace your inner meathead together, all right? It's been nice chatting. Hope you like what today's topic was about. IFBB PRO Matt Butale signing out. Boom. That was a pretty cool episode. I felt good about it. Feels like I got something off my chest. I hadn't told anybody about that, or at least on social media, ever. I guess outside of like the start of this week when I made that post. And it's pretty liberating. I just want to keep it real with you guys. Like, shit's just not always about fitness. It's not always about, getting jacked or eating the right food and this and that. It's also about your mindset. And more times than not, especially when I deal with clients, the number one thing that stops them from getting them from where they need to go, or from where they are to where they need to go, is their mindset. It's not like unless you're handicapped, that's a physical, you know what I mean? That's a physical barrier. But the mental barrier usually always exists with people that struggle to lose weight and that have been struggling to keep themselves, at a healthy weight. So I just wanted to shine light on that. Don't be out here on social media comparing your life to everybody's life and then wondering why you feel like shit about yours. Just, again, guys, understand that your life is worth living and that only you can control it. Don't give power up to anything else or anyone else. All right. Hope you guys and girls have an amazing day. I'll be back again next week with new episodes of the Meathead of the Mic podcast. Outside of that, you guys and girls have a wicked fucking weekend. And cheers, yo. Peace, love, and protein.